Let's turn to Ryan Mauro, a national security analyst for the Clarion project. And Mr. Mauro, thank you for being with us. We just began getting the reports about 10-15 minutes ago that Al-Qaeda, or an Al-Qaeda-linked group, is claiming responsibility for this terrorist attack in Mali. But 2 hours ago, you said it looked to you like, in fact, it was the work of Al-Qaeda, though you couldn't rule out ISIS. What made you think that?
Well, stylistically, it seemed more like an Al-Qaeda type operation where they go in, they're not shouting about Iraq and Syria, and they are allowing people that they believe to be Muslims to leave in order to say that they are more humane towards Muslims than ISIS. But this is also an area that's considered an Al-Qaeda stronghold, much more so than ISIS. And I also noticed that online, ISIS accounts that I monitor weren't claiming responsibility, the same ones that very quickly claimed responsibility for the Paris attacks, and so that's what tipped me off.
Well, if this is indeed Al-Qaeda or an affiliate, what's their motivation?
Well, there is the ideological motivation that simply says that this is justified in what they have to do. But the second motivation, particularly in regards to the timing, is to engage in what I've been calling the Jihad Olympics. Al-Qaeda is very threatened by the rise of the Islamic State, and they are threatened with even being absorbed into the Islamic State as more and more people look at the success of ISIS and say that that's the group that's most attractive to me, and because they are winning, that's the group that God wants me to join. And so Al-Qaeda has to make a mark. When there's a major attack like what you saw in Paris, Al-Qaeda has to appear on the scene and say, look, we are still alive, we are still viable, we are just as good at killing the infidel. And I saw an account that was sympathetic to Al-Qaeda that immediately pointed out how they are different than ISIS. They want to draw a contrast and say, we released the Muslims that we held, ISIS just massacres them left and right.
So in other words, those that can recite the Quran are released.
Right, and Al-Qaeda wants to brag about that and use that to contrast themselves with ISIS. Even though Al-Qaeda has a history of killing Muslims left and right, their pitch is that they are kinder to Muslims, whereas ISIS is reckless.
It's very interesting, and from your line of work, Ryan, this is a very rich moment to figure out who is leading in this group. And you know, when you think about Boko Haram pledging allegiance to ISIS, that had to sort of tick off the Al-Qaeda folks, I would imagine. And as you point out, they're feeling very competitive at this moment.
Right, the switch of allegiance from Boko Haram, which was a major Al-Qaeda affiliate, to join ISIS was a massive victory for ISIS, and we're hearing more and more reports about ISIS growing in places like Afghanistan and Pakistan. ISIS claimed that it killed an Italian priest in Bangladesh. Even that's part of the Jihad Olympics, because Al-Qaeda has opened up a branch that's active in Bangladesh, and then that's a way of ISIS saying, look, we're encroaching on your territory. We are winning. And how that affects us directly, though, is that the way you win this contest, one of the best things you can do is attack the United States. If Al-Qaeda wants to revive itself in competing with ISIS, then it has to remind everyone of 9/11 and say, look, we have not fallen from where we once were.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the big prize, as we know, and we see them, you know, with this attack in Paris, moving across Western Europe, and obviously the big prize, as you point out, is the United States. So, you know, in terms of our intelligence and how good it is on the ground with Al-Qaeda and with ISIS, boy, they're going to have their hands full.
That's definitely true, and when you look at how we know about Americans that are going overseas to join jihadist groups in places like Syria, there was a congressional terror report that I wrote about that said that about 250 Americans had gone to join jihadists in Syria, and then dozens had come back into the United States after doing so.
Yeah.
Ryan, thank you.
Boy.